So we need to briefly talk about the bowl games that happened yesterday. Virginia Tech taking on Maryland, Iowa State taking on Clemson, and finally the Oklahoma Sooners taking on the Oregon Ducks. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you happy with how the bowl games went down? And then let me know what the most surprising thing to you was. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. But with all of that being said, we need to hop right into this. And we'll start with Maryland against Virginia Tech. Maryland is a team I find myself rooting for, and I would like to be good, especially with Mike Locksley at the helm and Tualia Tagovailoa as the quarterback. They've been able to get some good recruiting pieces, and it's going to be interesting to see how they can continue building. But yesterday was a real solid win for Maryland, even though Virginia Tech has been real up and down all year long. Remember what I always say, it's not about how you start the year, it's about how you finish. And it doesn't matter who the opponent is in front of you. You have to go out there and play your brand of football. And even though this is the last game of this season for the Terps, it's going to be interesting to see how they can build upon this win, no matter who they played, by going out and playing their brand of football going into next year. They're a team I'm always going to have my eye on. I'm very interested to see what they do. And so with that, I think we all need to be kind of cognizant of what Maryland is able to do between now and next season, what their offseason looks like, how they end up finishing in recruiting, all things I'm very interested in. For Virginia Tech, there's a lot of work to do before next season goes, and that's a team we also have to watch for a bit different reasons. Whereas Maryland, for a few years now, has felt like they're building towards something, and I'm not saying a national championship or a college football playoff run, but they look like they're building and trying to get their feet under them. Virginia Tech's got to go to the drawing board, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. In the Clemson-Iowa State game, this was a game I thought would be really intriguing, especially when you looked at Iowa State being without their best playmaker, Breece Hall. Brock Purdy, a veteran quarterback who's been good for the Cyclones, but was having to take on a Clemson defense that has been good all year. Clemson's offense has been up and down through various portions of the year, but the defense has been pretty solid. But yesterday we saw that without Breece Hall, it was just too much to overcome, and Clemson had a bit too much for Iowa State. That 3-3-5 had given Clemson trouble earlier in the year, but Clemson didn't have all that much trouble with it. Now, I did think the running backs for the Tigers would get loose more than they did, but at the end of the day, a victory is a victory, and they were able to handle the Cyclones, and Clemson's defense was really able to put the pressure on the veteran quarterback, and it was just too much to overcome. I don't think that is super surprising, especially when you're a team that has relied on a running back as much as Iowa State relied on Breece Hall. When you looked at the carrying capacity of the running backs and you saw how the carries were divided, Breece Hall got the overwhelming majority of looks for the Cyclones, and so then when you go into a bowl game without that guy, you just don't have anybody else that has gotten the looks that you're really comfortable with, and that really came to bite Iowa State in the back. But finally, Oklahoma against Oregon, and this was a bowl game that I've talked about at length because of kind of the extraneous circumstances outside of even football as it pertains to this game. And what I mean when I say that is the coaching changes at both institutions. When we looked at this was a game that both of these teams wanted to end this year on a high and see how they could build going forward into next year. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Oregon had a lot of players down, and it was just far too much for them to overcome. But Dye was fantastic for the Ducks. That man is really solid at the running back position, and he is a dangerous back. But on the flip side, Kennedy Brooks displayed everything you would want to see, and Oklahoma's rush attack was dangerous all night long. Caleb Williams had himself a night, even though they got to rely on Kennedy Brooks. Anytime Caleb Williams was called upon, he answered the call, which is really what you want to see. And this is what's going to be interesting going forward into next season, is how Oklahoma is able to build, because there is going to be a bit of a shift. Bob Stoops came back to coach the Oklahoma Sooners in this game, and now the torch is passed to Brent Venables. The good news is, as I've said before, Venables has a relationship with the Oklahoma Sooners. He was a former defensive coordinator there, and he had a relationship with Bob Stoops. So I believe it will be a seamless transition. I don't expect anything but a seamless transition, but Nonetheless, it's a transition that we must watch because we must watch all transitions within college football. It is a very unique time for any institution and one that's a bit precarious because it's fragile. This one is just in a bit better hands because of the familiarity at the relationship level with Brent Venables. Now, one thing as a football fan, it was really cool to see Bob Stoops on the sideline for the Sooners. It was really nostalgic almost. And that, as I was watching the game, was really what I kept thinking the entire time. Because I wasn't surprised Oklahoma won the game, or even in the fashion Oklahoma won the game. Oklahoma's rush attack has been coming on as the season has been going. Caleb Williams, with his mobility, really was able to maximize it. And then when I looked at this game, when Oklahoma was probably going to have to rely on a rushing attack, especially when we looked at some of the weaknesses of the Ducks, it made complete sense that they would go in the direction they did. And Kennedy Brooks was outstanding all night long. But Oklahoma needs to feel good about this win. It is going to be very interesting to see how they finish up in recruiting between now and signing day, because I think there are a few battles that we need to keep an eye on for the Sooners. But more importantly, I can't wait for spring practice to be here because I'm very intrigued as to how this transition is going to go. I'm very intrigued to hear what the coaches are saying, what the players are saying, and most importantly, I'm already over the moon excited for all college football spring games so I can see how a lot of this is going down. But with that, I want to hear from y'all. What was your main takeaway from the bowl games? Which bowl game were you the most excited to watch? And just let me know your general thoughts. That's it. See ya.